everybody. It's Jeff here from JazzWire. We have guided listening today, and what I want to do is listen to two different versions of Walkin, a Miles Davis blues tune, or rather a tune that Miles played. He didn't write it, like a lot of Miles Davis tunes, I guess. And we're going to listen to a bit of the first recording and then all of the second recording. And I was thinking about this tune because, of course, some of you know, for the JazzWire Winter Summit, this is an online workshop I want you to attend. It's January 27 through 29 of this year, 2023. We have George Coleman. The legendary George Coleman is going to be one of our super special guests, along with Buster Williams on bass, Tia Fuller, modern sax player. We have Paul Bolenbach on guitar, myself, many more, and it's a 3-day workshop. We're going to be working and playing together. Yes, it's possible to do this online, so, write me, check out, grab one of the last spots. I think we have 6 spots left, so they're going to be gone soon. So the second version of this tune features George Coleman on a very, very famous Miles album from 1964, a live album, Four and More. From that same concert was the album My Funny Valentine, and they got released as a double CD. I think this is on the Four and More one. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, Walkin'. It's an F blues. It's got an intro to it. It's got a shout chorus and things like that, but it's, once we get into it, it's an F blues. So I want to listen to these two different versions. So let's listen to a bit of Miles playing this. Now, this is with Kenny Clark on drums, Percy Heath, Horace Silver, J.J. Johnson, Lucky Thompson. So this is, kind of taking it back earlier in Miles' career. And let's just listen to a little bit of this, get the flavor of it, and then we'll jump into the 1964 version. So nice, medium tempo. And this is our intro. And here's the blues. Second measure. A nice bouncy 2 feel, half notes in the bass. Really swinging, nice and tight. The articulations, those 3 horns, trombone, tenor sax, trumpet, together, dat and do dat. They rehearsed this, for sure. May have been 5 minutes, but they rehearsed it. So this is killer 1954 Miles Davis. Woo! Oh man. Percy Heath on the bass, Kenny Clark. So this sounds like what, when a lot of us think about Miles Davis, we maybe hear this in our heads. So I tell you what, let's pause this. Let's jump ahead 10 years to 1964. Wow. Faster, right? Here's the tune. Wow, okay, so there's some, not even the melody a second time. Holy crap. Shot out of a cannon, right? So this is very different, 10 years later. The aesthetic is different. Was it as tight and rehearsed? These guys were maybe better rehearsed. The aesthetic wasn't tight and, relaxed swing. This is obviously swinging for the fences. And it is fast. Holy cow. Interesting that it's maybe kind of hard to hear where the blues is here, but Miles is playing pretty straight 4-measure phrases, actually. 5th measure. Here's the top. 2, 2, 4. So even though Miles is becoming a lot more abstract, we're still hearing 4-measure phrases from him that eventually he would break away from. He would break away from that frame. Okay, let's hear what happens here right away. Man, strong. And Tony Williams on the drums. Oh my God. And where's the piano? In the middle of the chorus, everything stopped. That was in the 5th and 6th measure of the chorus. Miles played blah, da, 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 da. He played this signal. So he had developed that signal, and whenever he would play that, things would shift. Not really sure how they'd shift. So now it seems like we're at a time. I'm not sure if we're at a time, or whether Tony's still thinking about that tempo as he's playing over it. But it seems like he's kind of left it behind. He certainly left the groove and the texture of the time behind. How do we listen to a drum solo like this? I'm going to suggest listening to the bass drum talking to everything else. Snare drum talking to the bass drum. Toms talking to the bass drum. Talking back and forth. Just follow the bass drum and everything else. Dun, dun, ba, dun, dun, ba, dun, dun, ba, dun. He brings the cymbals in. We really haven't had any or much cymbals to that point. How did the band know to come in there? Well, he played ba da 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 da. He played Miles's cue, which means let's go. George Coleman. And again, it's a little hard to hear the form. And to be honest, I think there are sometimes some measures being compressed or expanded, which is a fancy way of saying dropping some beats. On occasion, maybe. But man, Ron Carter on the bass, Tony on drums. Holy cow. So it's helpful for me to hear Herbie comping, and I can hear where the 1 chord is, where the 4 chord is. And George is a little over the time, right? Is he like right inside the time? Not always. But again, the aesthetic wasn't for this perfection, bebop, Sonny Stitt sort of stuff. Miles was moving away from that. And the drumming is so upfront, right? So the drums are no longer the accompaniment instrument from the 40s, from Charlie Parker's time, or the 50s. The drums are forefront when he wants to be. That's a huge development of the instrument, how it works. I'm glad I'm not playing this tempo. So things are a little separated the way George is playing again over the time, but the bass and the drums are really locked. So do they all know exactly where everything is, where everyone is? I'm not sure. I want to say George jumped out sort of in the middle of the chorus there when I was listening to it earlier. I'm not sure. I'd have to listen to this a bunch more. But these guys were swinging for the fences. Miles would famously say things like, look, I'm not paying you to perform. I'm paying you to experiment. I want you to get up there and play something you've never played before. That is scary. That's crazy, right? So these guys are trying stuff. Herbie Hancock on the piano, Ron Carter on the bass, Tony Williams on drums. So with the harmony, it's kind of easier to hear where Herbie is, and his rhythm is so incredible. It's, you know, it is pretty locked in. Here's the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Top of the chorus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those measures are going by fast. Top. And even when Tony slows down like that, Miles comes in with his shout chorus. Right back to the melody. So these big shifts. Wow. But Miles likes to displace that melody. Here, are they together? Is this tight? Is it beautiful? I don't know. Wow. And the melody out just one time. That's really atypical. That's really atypical to just do the melody of a blues, especially one that fast. Like, we need to hear it a second time to even know what happened. And so Miles's choice to play it once and we're into solos, once and we're out. You know, we're talking about one of the biggest shifts in jazz small group playing. So this is 1964, and this is, you know, there's other people who are very, very expert on the lineage of how all this stuff went, but this is one of Miles's transitional groups. When Wayne Shorter replaced George Coleman in the group, that became, what do we call it, the second great quintet that Miles had. And for a lot of people, that was when modern jazz arrived, and maybe people still point at certainly one of the great small groups of all time. My t-shirt talks about one of the other great small groups of all time, but with Ron Carter on the bass, Tony Williams on drums, Herbie Hancock on piano, Miles, and then Wayne Shorter on the tenor sax. That group really started stretching the boundaries of things. So we hear on these two albums, you know, people talk about these being really important albums. They were live, and they were playing standards, pretty much all standards, right? They played the song "4." They play the song "My Funny Valentine," things like that. And we really hear Miles stretching away from the aesthetic of 1954 when he's in 1964. So yeah, I mean, people write their PhD papers in jazz studies on, you know, on this album and this transition and the next band that came a year or two down the road. So it's incredible stuff, and it's been fun for me listening to a lot of George Coleman, knowing I'm going to be talking to him at the Winter Summit. I hope you have that opportunity too, to ask him what was it like playing in this group, like specific musical questions, you know. So definitely, please check it out and grab one of these last 6 spots. They're going to be gone in a couple weeks for sure. And Walkin. It's a great standard blues that we should all know. It's pretty cool because it has the intro with the pedal tones. It has that shout chorus, bop, 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 dot, dot. But then how Miles and the group played it, the aesthetic, the energy, the holy crap, are they going to make it feel of the whole thing is amazing. And the other thing to think about, I was going to look it up, how young these men were, especially Tony Williams. He may have still been a teenager at this time. Astounding. Whether he was 17, 18, 19 years old, I should know that, but we can look it up, right? In 1964, young. These guys, you know, especially Tony and Herbie, I think. So, yep, amazing playing and fun to listen to these two versions, only 10 years apart. You know, do I sound that different from my playing 10 years ago or where I'm going to be 10 years? No. Miles, like Pablo Picasso, would shift around and totally reinvent himself. Miles was famous for reinventing himself numerous times, and this is one of the big reinventions. This is like right between periods. So if you don't know the 4 and More My Funny Valentine albums from 1964, fantastic stuff, great playing from everybody. And we get to hear some of those songs that Miles has been playing for 8 or 10 or 12 years as they start getting taken apart at the seams, right? Just, blown up a little bit. So thank you for hanging out with me on that. I'm going to be back next week, of course, with more guided listening, and I hope you join me inside JazzWire. This is what I do for everybody out there to get some good information out to you folks out there in YouTube land. But inside JazzWire is where hundreds of your friends from around the world, 25 different countries, where we really dig in and work together in a pretty powerful way. I hope you check it out. We've got a 30-day free trial. There's nothing to lose. You can be signed up in 10 seconds. I hope you check it out. Thanks for being here with me today. Have a good week.